to Local SEO Today. I'm Roger Murphy.
And I'm John Wong.
We want to welcome you to our podcast, and we want to thank Kayla Kloss, who's working the technical back end of the cameras and sound today. So, Kayla, thanks for your hard work.
Kayla.
So today, John, in this podcast, we're going to talk to entrepreneurs, really budding entrepreneurs and business owners starting a business, and it's about debt, and it's about taking on debt or not taking on debt, how to get your business rolling
without taking on too much debt.
That's right, the right way.
Yeah, so the first thing we want to talk about is,
and we've both done this, by the way. We both started businesses. So in terms of experience, we know what it means to start a business on a shoestring and make it work. So go ahead.
Exactly. So the first thing you want to make sure is don't borrow if you don't have to borrow, right? So I understand everyone has a dream to be their own boss, right? Be an entrepreneur, be very successful. But make sure you have some sort of funds or emergency funds to start the business yourself.
Exactly.
Because once you start that cycle of borrowing money, it's very difficult to get out of. Right?
So the idea, let's say you're a service-based business, and there's all types of businesses, but we'll talk about service-based businesses. If you're getting started, really reach out and get your customers first before you start taking on a lot of debt. And here's an example, and I've mentioned this one time before. I met this young gentleman years ago that was getting into the landscaping and snow removal business. And what did he do? He locked himself into a 5 or 7 year, extremely expensive lease loan on a vehicle with a blade on the front. It could have been, John, close to $50 or $60 or $70,000.
And it's a brand new vehicle. Without even getting new customers.
Zero customers. So think of it. There are other ways to get your business started. Not with brand new equipment, but there might be some good used ones. But you have to think smart. Don't just go purchase all this debt or all this equipment, load on the debt, and then go look for customers. It doesn't work that way.
And instead, what I would have done is maybe focus on acquiring new customers, generating revenue before anticipating buying an asset or depreciating asset, right?
Exactly.
So use what you have. Like if you have an existing car already, make use of it because it's already fully paid for. And until you make enough money to subsidize the cost, right?
Exactly. We've met people in the pest control industry. They start off with their car, just their hatchback. They got licensed, got the proper whatever, but they didn't go buy a huge or lease a great big van at $1,000 a month. No, they start with their own vehicle, and as they grow into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you don't just go take on a whole bunch of expensive debt. And by the way, the finance companies love this sort of stuff. They've given an asset to you. They've got all the profit, and they're taking money from you every month, whether you have the clients or not. And that's not a great situation. So.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point about living lean is making sure you can still live as well, right?
Exactly.
Because you still have your everyday expenses, right? You know what kind of revenue you need to generate to actually live, right? So don't take that extra burden of expenses.
Exactly.
Right?
There's so many ways, to your point. Find those customers first, then get the equipment needed to serve them. I've met upholsterers over the years that started their business and said, I made money from the first day I ever opened my business. It's because they got the customers first, then they bought the equipment to do whatever. They didn't sign themselves into expensive leases. You find rental, you find short term. So there's many, many ways to keep and live lean in the early days.
Yeah, the next thing we want to talk about is do not borrow. Like if you have to borrow, make sure you borrow smart with as low interest as possible, right? Because ultimately what you want to do is don't live on debt, right? Because eventually you have to pay back the borrowed money unless it is a grant, but they're far in between, right? Like you need to, if you're gonna have to borrow, ask friends and family with very low interest first, and then if you're gonna go to the bank to borrow money, make sure you use your line of credit before you finance everything on your credit card, right, or credit line, because again, you don't want to live on paying interest, and they're very high interest.
And to your point, John, there's a credit line you can get from the bank, and there's a credit card from the bank. know those numbers. Credit card debt could easily be 19, 24, 28%, which is hugely expensive. Annual interest versus a line of credit that you can access only as you require it, as opposed to taking it all and sticking it in your bank account. There's better ways and smarter ways. Debt is not your friend.
Exactly.
It's necessary, but you want to be very, very, very careful with it.
And the good thing about a line of credit on your bank account is there's an opportunity to just pay interest only.
Sure.
Right? So the interest is lower.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's 5 to 8%, I would say, or even prime, depending on how good your credit is. But ultimately, that's the best type of borrowing loan that you can get from the bank.
That's right. And something we didn't talk about, but in terms of staying out of debt, is really you need to, as an entrepreneur, look at what your product or service is, look at what your margins are, and work out what your break-even point is even per day. Yes. Meaning, for you to be in business with the cost of your goods, gas insurance, marketing, whatever it is, what is your net per day you need in sales? Because that will really guide you as to, hey, if I take on some debt, how long is it going to take me to pay off that debt? You really need to know your numbers.
Yeah, and especially if you're in a seasonal type of business, you even need to know it even further, right? Yes. Because whenever everything looks good, you may be, it may look great on the books,
that's right,
but you never know what's going to happen in the down season.
The slow season, yes.
Slow season.
Yeah. So smart things are, of course, stay out of the debt, use it as little as possible, be very careful, but even pay it down when you're busy, because to your point, John, if you're in a seasonal business and the slow season comes, why have that hanging over your head? Pay it down, pay it off while you are, where the revenue is really rolling in.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is only borrow money for revenue generating activities. Because ultimately, you want to make sure your business is thriving, right?
Sure.
That is growing. So how can you use borrowed money to generate more revenue to pay it off eventually?
Yep. It's a leverage.
Leverage it, right? Because, at the beginning, it might be tough, right? Like, you can utilize all your time and resources to do all the sales and marketing yourself, but if you're able to leverage that piece and hopefully get more leads, that will help you pay for some of the debt that you borrowed.
Exactly.
Right? Versus if you were to borrow money for depreciating type of assets, right? Such as a car or, anything that actually has no real tangible revenue associated to it.
Exactly.
So the next thing I want to talk about is reduce your capital expenditures, right? So wherever you can, save money.
Exactly.
Right? Especially if you're starting off. Like, does that mean you should just work from home? Maybe at the beginning to save money on rent and all the variable costs associated with it.
The car we spoke of, or the vehicle, instead of taking on an expensive service vehicle, can you work out of an older vehicle you already have to get once you get rolling, then you can upgrade. But in the early days, keep these expenditures down.
Yeah, like even if you are in a business, like, do you need a brand new laptop? Or can you just use what you currently have?
Exactly.
Do you need a brand new phone?
If you need if you need an office space to work out of, there are shared spaces. Many times you'll see driving around, and you don't just go for the expensive, executive suites or whatever at $1,000 a month, but you could actually find, hey, here's an office space for $200 a month, and all of a sudden you've got a physical space and an address. So really search out the best value to run your business.
Yeah, and maybe at the beginning you don't have the revenue that you anticipate, right? So you need to find other sources of income, right? So we always talk about just bootstrapping, but also figure out where you're gonna generate revenue.
Exactly.
Right.
The idea of to bring income coming in from two different sources or more than two, it is, if you're starting a business, really consider, can you keep your day job while starting a side hustle on this business till it gets rolling? If that's the long-term plan that you love and you're going to move into this business long-term, great. Really think about, can you keep your day job going also? Because that is revenue that keeps your life going.
Yeah, and maybe it means having a part-time job to subsidize your business, right? Or pay for all your necessities like rent, living, food.
Side hustle.
Exactly.
Yep.
You need some sort of income, right? Stability, right? The other thing is you can maybe offer freelance jobs as well, right? So, again, side hustles, but at a lower price, right? Like whatever you can do to really run your business, and maybe at the beginning you offer it at a lower price to gain traction, right? Whatever it is to generate revenue. The big thing is maybe at the beginning offering it for free to get clients, and then slowly mark it up, right?
And this idea of because the whole idea is to maybe you can't stay out of debt. Maybe you have to take on debt to get this business going. But it's the right type of debt. It's the lowest price, because I know I can get a used vehicle way cheaper that'll do the same job as an expensive brand new one, John. I know I can find rental space at a way lower price than signing a 10-year renewable lease with all the different add-ons to it.
Do your research.
Products or materials you need to run your business, whether it's tools, equipment, there's things out there where you can find lower cost, quality tools. They may not be perfect, but they'll serve you in the short term.
Great. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is make a plan to really reduce your debt as well. So especially if you're borrowing stuff early on, you need a plan to pay it back.
Exactly.
Just like when you have a mortgage, you just have to slowly pay it back, right? Same with your business.
Yeah.
So make sure you have a set amount of years that you want to pay back. Put some sort of arrangement with whoever you're borrowing money from, and if there's a way to speed up or expedite it, maybe you can reduce the interest rate, like negotiate.
Exactly. Maybe even with the revenue that comes into your bank account, automatically, not savings, but pull a little amount off, it goes into a different account. That becomes the slush fund. You never even see it. That builds up to start paying off your other debt. There's lots of little strategies there.
Yeah, so because the big thing is when people see a lot of money in their bank account, they feel like things are going very well.
Exactly.
But you have to remember there's certain things that you always have to pay, such as taxes. And if you borrowed money, principal on it, interest on it, and also any of your necessities like fixed costs.
Exactly.
Right?
So in the idea of this debt, when your plan to pay off this debt, if you have debt on both a credit card and a line of credit from the bank, it sounds like, oh, both are loans, no problem. Be smart, go after the highest interest debt to get rid of it first. So between the two, John, of a credit line and a credit card. Get rid of that credit card. Even try and get the debt off the credit card onto the line of credit, because you can move literally costs of 28% annual, maybe down to 9, 8, 7, who knows, whatever you negotiate.
Yeah.
So be very smart that all debt is not created equal.
And consolidate your debt if you have multiple places to the lowest interest rate, right?
Yes.
So, there's just smart ways to really run a business and be smart with your money.
Yes.
Because
someone should mention also, John, how many credit cards a person should have in business?
Just a couple, one or two?
One or two, maybe not one, but two, just in case.
Yes.
But I know people that have got 5, 6, 7, 8 cards out there. They thought, oh, it's free money. It is not free money. You're gonna have to pay that back.
And they maximize one credit card and then the next and not pay anything back.
Exactly. Right? So being a business owner and an entrepreneur, it's a serious business. You got to do your homework when it comes to finances. You got to know your costs, your sales coming in, and be so respectful of this debt. Yes, it's important. You need it to get started, but it's only a stepping stone, a leverage point to grow your business.
Because ultimately you want to pay down all your debt and live comfortably, right? So once you remove all your debt, then at least your margins and you can live a better healthier business.
And you get to the point where, yes, you're using debt, but it's because it's tax deductible and the interest is deductible. That's all fine and good.
Smart.
But that's after you've got a business going.
Yeah.
Not in the early days when there's no revenue coming in.
Exactly. So you come to a point where any credit card debt you get, you pay off right away.
There you go.
Right? Because it allows you to pay, borrow something for 30 days. Right? So it's a smart way to use debt.
Yep. So John, I think this has been a very informative session today. It's so important. It's the basis of all businesses, and that is debt is important, but you got to get out of it as soon as you can and be very respectful and be smart. Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you for your advice. Thank you for watching Local SEO Today. We'll see you again.
Thank you.